The rain fell on the memorial stones like tears from heaven. General Murray stood in her black uniform, watching thousands of people gather in the Plaza of Remembrance. 20 years had passed since the aliens came. 20 years since the sky turned red with fire and the cities burned. She remembered every moment of that terrible day when the Varaxian warships appeared above Earth. Her hand touched the cold stone that bore her children's names. Minho and Nari. They were only 6 and 8 years old when the invasion began. The memory still cut through her heart like a knife. She had been fighting on the front lines when her home city was destroyed. By the time she returned, there was nothing left but ash and rubble. The ceremony ended, and people began to leave. Murray remained standing there, her eyes fixed on the names carved in stone. A young officer approached her carefully. It was Captain G1, one of the best pilots in Earth's defense forces. She was born during the war and grew up knowing nothing but conflict and survival. General Admiral Hen needs to see you immediately, G1 said quietly. It's urgent. Murray nodded and followed her to the military headquarters. The building was new, built from alien metal salvaged from crashed Varaxian ships. Everything on Earth had changed after the invasion. Humanity had taken the enemy's technology and made it their own. They learned fast. They had to, or they would have died. Admiral Hayne was waiting in the war room with several other commanders. His face looked tired and angry. He had lost his entire family too, just like Murray. Most of Earth's leaders had lost someone. That was why they understood what needed to be done. The Varaxians are making their move, Heon said without greeting. He activated a holographic display showing intercepted alien communications. They're going to the Galactic Concil. They want to claim Earth as disputed territory. Murray felt ice in her veins. What does that mean? It means they're trying to use politics to finish what they started with weapons, Ambassador Sunwoo explained. He was an older man who had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. The Galactic Council has laws about territorial disputes. If they rule in favor of the Varaxians, we could be forced to surrender our sovereignty or face sanctions from the entire galaxy. That's insane, Giwan said. They invaded us. They killed billions of our people. How can they claim any rights to our world? Hyen's expression darkened. Because the galaxy doesn't care about justice. It cares about power. The Varaxians are one of the major empires. We're just newcomers who happen to survive their attack. Murray walked to the window and looked out at the rebuilt city. The buildings stood tall and strong, but she could still see the scars. Some ruins were left standing as reminders. The new generation needed to remember what happened and why they could never be weak again. What are our options? She asked. Sunwoo stepped forward with his datapad. We can send a diplomatic mission to the council, present our case, show evidence of their war crimes, appeal to their sense of justice. Do they have a sense of justice? Murray turned to face him. Her eyes were hard as steel. Where was the council when our cities burned? Where were they when Varaxian soldiers murdered our children in the streets? Where was their justice then? The room fell silent. Everyone knew she was right. The Galactic Council had done nothing to stop the invasion. They watched from their safe stations while Earth fought alone and nearly died. There's another option, Heon said slowly. We show them that we're not victims anymore. We go to the Council with a fleet. We present our evidence with warships backing our words. We make them understand that humanity won't beg for justice. It's dangerous, Sunwoo warned. If we appear too aggressive, other species might see us as a threat. We could end up facing the entire galaxy. We already face death alone, Murray said quietly. What's the difference? She walked to the holographic display and studied the star charts. The Council station orbited a neutral world called Meridian Prime. It's far from Earth. It would take weeks to reach it, even with their fastest ships. But that gave them time to prepare. We'll go, Murray announced. I'll take a fleet to the Council and present our case. But I won't beg. I won't ask for their permission to exist. We'll show them what humanity has become. Hyun smiled grimly. I'll command the fleet. We'll take our best warships and our strongest weapons. Let them see what we built from the ruins they left us, and I'll gather the evidence, Sunwoo added. video recordings of the atrocities, records of civilian casualties, chemical analysis of the weapons they used on our cities. Everything. Juan raised her hand. What about ground forces? If things go wrong, we'll need soldiers ready to fight. Choose your best people, Murray told her. Veterans who remember the invasion and young soldiers who were born from it will need both. Experience and fire. The meeting continued for hours as they planned every detail. Which ships would go, which weapons to bring, what evidence to present. They also discussed what would happen if the Council rejected them, or if the Viraxians attacked. Earth needed to be ready for any outcome. As the sun set, Murray returned to the Memorial Plaza. She stood before her children's names one last time before leaving for the stars. She made a silent promise to them and to all the dead. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. Earth would have justice one way or another. I'm going to make them pay, she whispered. I'm going to make them all understand what they did to us. And if they won't give us justice, we'll take it ourselves. The next morning, Earth's fleet began preparations. 20 massive warships powered up their engines, weapon systems coming online. Thousands of soldiers boarded the vessels, their faces determined and hard. They were ready to face the galaxy. They were ready to demand what was owed. General Murray stood on the bridge of the flagship as it lifted into orbit. Below her, Earth turned slowly, beautiful and scarred. She would fight for it. She would make the galaxy respect it, whatever the cost. The journey through hyperspace took 3 weeks. Murray spent most of that time reviewing evidence and preparing her arguments. She watched the recordings over and over. Videos of Vraxian soldiers executing prisoners, images of cities reduced to glass by orbital bombardment, chemical reports showing banned weapons used on civilian populations. Every piece of evidence made her anger burn hotter. Admiral Han ran constant drills with the fleet. The human warships were smaller than most alien vessels, but they were faster and more maneuverable. Earth's engineers had studied captured Viraxian technology and improved it. They added weapons the aliens never imagined. Humanity learned that survival meant innovation. Captain Giwan trained her soldiers every day in the ship's combat simulators. The young warriors moved through scenarios with deadly precision. Many of them had never seen Earth before the rebuilding. They knew only stories of the invasion, but those stories filled them with purpose. They would not let their homeworld suffer again. Ambassador Sunwoo worked on the political approach. He studied the Galactic Council's procedures and laws. He researched every species that held a council seat. He looked for allies and identified enemies. His conclusion was not encouraging. Most species feared the Viraxian Empire. Many owed them favors or money. Finding support would be difficult. When the fleet finally dropped out of hyperspace near Meridian Prime, everyone rushed to the viewports. The Council station hung in orbit like a massive wheel of metal and light. It was enormous, easily 100 times larger than Earth's biggest space station. Thousands of ships from hundreds of different species surrounded it. "This is Human Fleet 1 requesting permission to dock," Heen transmitted. There was a long silence. Then a mechanical voice responded. "Human vessels are not scheduled for Council appearance this cycle. State your purpose." "We are here to address the Viraxian petition regarding Earth," Han replied calmly. "We claim our right to present evidence and testimony." Another pause. Murray could imagine the confusion on the station. Humans were barely known to the galaxy. They were considered primitive survivors of a failed conquest. Now they arrived with a military fleet demanding to be heard. "You may dock at Peripheral Base 73, the voice finally said. "Your warships must power down all weapon systems." "Our weapons will remain on standby," Hune responded. "We'll keep them offline, but ready. Non-negotiable." The station controllers argued, but Haon held firm. Eventually, they agreed. The human fleet moved into position, their ships forming a defensive pattern around the flagship. It was a clear message. Earth came prepared for diplomacy, but ready for war. Murray led a delegation of 50 people onto the station. Soldiers in combat armor, diplomats in formal dress, engineers carrying equipment to present evidence. They walked through corridors filled with aliens of every shape and size. Creatures with multiple limbs, beings made of energy, a species that breathed different atmospheres through portable tanks. Many aliens stopped to stare at the humans. Some whispered among themselves. Others simply watched with what might have been curiosity or contempt. Mireille kept her expression neutral, but her hand never moved far from her sidearm. A tall insectoid alien approached them. Its translator device spoke in perfect English. "I am Arbiter Kelos. I oversee council proceedings. You are the human delegation?" "General Mireille, commander of Earth's United Defense Forces," she replied. "We're here to respond to the Verkesian claims." "The Verkesians have already presented their case," Kelos said. "They argue that your species poses a threat to galactic stability, that their military action was preventive rather than aggressive." Mireille felt her jaw tighten. "They burned our world and call it prevention?" "The Council will hear your response in 3 days," Kelos continued without acknowledging her anger. "You will have 1 hour to present your case. Prepare carefully. The Council's decision is final." The Arbiter walked away, leaving the human delegation standing in the massive corridor. Sunwoo touched Moray's arm gently. 3 days. We can use that time to make contact with other species. Build support. "Do you really think anyone will support us?" Juan asked quietly. "Some might," Sunwoo said, though he didn't sound convinced. Over the next 3 days, the human delegation worked without rest. Sunwoo arranged meetings with representatives from smaller species. Most were polite but non-committal. A few were sympathetic, but too afraid of Vraxian retaliation to help openly. One ambassador told him directly that the council existed to maintain order, not deliver justice. Meanwhile, Yuna, a human intelligence officer, investigated the station's data networks. She was skilled at finding information that others wanted hidden. What she discovered made her blood run cold. She found communication records showing that several council members knew about the planned invasion of Earth months before it happened. They did nothing. Some even provided the Varaxians with tactical information about human settlements. They helped them, Yuna reported to Mireille in their secured quarters. The council wasn't neutral. They were complicit. Mireille stared at the evidence on the datapad. Financial transactions between Varaxian companies and council officials. Messages discussing Earth's primitive defenses. Predictions about how long humanity would resist. It was all there, hidden but not deleted. "Why would they do this?" Mireille asked. "'Cause they wanted to test us," Engineer Doyan suggested. He had been analyzing Varaxian technology and found something interesting. "Look at this. The weapons they used on Earth weren't their best. They sent second-line troops, older ships. This wasn't an invasion meant to conquer. It was an experiment. They wanted to see if we could fight back," Jiwan realized. "They wanted to measure our potential," Sunwoo nodded slowly. "And now that we survived, they see us as either useful or dangerous. The Varaxians want to control us. The Council wants to contain us." Mireille stood and walked to the window overlooking space. Earth was too far away to see, but she felt its presence in her heart. Her people had fought so hard to survive. They had rebuilt from ashes. They had earned their place among the stars, and now she learned it was all a game to these ancient species. "We're not their experiment," she said coldly. "We're not their subjects, and we're not their victims anymore." "What will you say to the council?" Sunwoo asked. Mireille turned to face her team. Her expression was harder than steel, colder than space. "I'll tell them the truth. All of it. And I'll make them understand that humanity won't bow to anyone. Not anymore." The day of the council meeting arrived. Councillor Tavik led the Vraxian delegation. He was a large reptilian creature with scales that shimmered like metal. He looked at the humans with barely concealed contempt. To him, they were insects that somehow survived being stepped on. Nothing more. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of seats rose in tiers around a central platform. Representatives from across the galaxy filled them, their forms bizarre and varied. At the highest point sat Arbiter Kelos, overseeing everything. "The council recognizes General Mireille of Earth," Kelos announced. You may present your response. Murray walked to the platform. Her boots echoed in the massive chamber. Behind her, images began displaying on holographic screens, evidence of what the Varaxians had done. What the council had allowed. She took a breath and began to speak. Murray's voice was calm at first, professional. She spoke like a soldier giving a report. The holographic screens showed images of Earth before the invasion. Beautiful cities, green forests, blue oceans, a peaceful world that knew nothing of galactic politics or alien wars. This was my home, she said. A planet of 8 billion people. Farmers, teachers, artists, children. We had no quarrel with anyone. We didn't even know you existed. The images changed. Now they showed the invasion. Varaxian warships descending through the atmosphere. Cities burning. People running through streets as alien soldiers hunted them. The council members watched in silence. Some looked uncomfortable. Others seemed bored, as if they had seen such things many times before. The Varaxians came without warning or declaration, Murray continued. They did not attempt communication. They did not offer terms. They simply began killing us. Systematically, efficiently, as if we were nothing more than animals to be exterminated. Councillor Tavik shifted in his seat. The human general speaks with emotion rather than fact. Our action was necessary to prevent future threat. Intelligence indicated that human aggression would silence. Arbiter Kellos commanded. The human has the floor. You presented your case. Now she presents hers. Murray nodded her thanks to Kellos, though she suspected no real sympathy existed there. She continued her presentation. The screen showed mass graves. Children's bodies pulled from rubble. Hospitals destroyed by orbital strikes. Evidence of chemical weapons used on civilian populations. According to galactic law, these are war crimes, she stated. The use of banned weapons. Targeting of non-combatants. Execution of prisoners. The evidence is clear and undeniable. A council member from a species called the Torvari spoke up. These accusations are severe. However, Councillor Tavik has explained that human resistance was unexpectedly fierce. Casualties occur in warfare. Casualties, Murray repeated the word slowly. Is that what you call the murder of 3 billion people? Casualties. The Varaxian Empire acted within their rights to protect regional stability, another council member added. Emerging species often pose unforeseen dangers. Preemptive measures are sometimes necessary. Murray felt something crack inside her chest. She had prepared for skepticism. She had expected political maneuvering. But this casual dismissal of genocide cut deeper than any weapon. These beings sat in their comfortable chambers and discussed the deaths of billions as if it were a budget report. We brought evidence of your guilt as well, she said quietly. The chamber stirred. Sunwoo activated new files. Communication records appeared on the screens. Messages between Varaxian military command and council officials, financial transactions, tactical data about Earth's defenses shared months before the invasion began. You knew, Murray said, her voice growing harder. The council knew the Varaxians planned to attack Earth. You did nothing to stop it. Some of you actively helped them. You wanted to see what would happen. You wanted to test us. The council erupted in protest. Multiple species shouting at once. Arbiter Kellos called for order, but chaos reigned. Councillor Tavik stood, his scaled face twisted in what might have been anger or amusement. Humans, he said with contempt, dripping from his translator. You survived our military exercise and now you dare come here making demands? You should be grateful we allowed your species to continue existing. You should be begging for the council's protection. Instead, you insult us with accusations and threats. Military exercise? Murray's hands clenched into fists. You call the murder of 3 billion people an exercise? We call it what it was, Tavik replied. A test. One that you barely passed. Now you should accept your place in the galactic order. Submit to Varaxian oversight. Let more advanced species guide your development. Or face the consequences of your primitive arrogance. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Murray. She stood on the platform, a single human woman surrounded by hundreds of alien species, most of them ancient, most of them powerful, all of them expecting her to back down. She thought of her children. Minho and Nari, they died in the first week of the invasion, before humanity even understood what was happening. They died scared and alone while she fought on a battlefield 1,000 miles away. Their faces were burned into her memory forever. She thought of all the dead. 3 billion souls crying out for justice that would never come. Not from this council. Not from these creatures who saw human life as worthless. They expected her to beg, to submit, to accept that might makes right and humanity should be grateful for surviving. Something broke inside Mireille. Not her spirit. Not her resolve. It was the last piece of her that believed in galactic justice. The last hope that the universe was fair. It shattered like glass, and what remained was pure fury. "No," she said. Tavik tilted his head. "No, you refuse the council's wisdom." "I refuse your lies," Mireille said, her voice rising. "You sit here pretending to be civilized, pretending to have laws and justice, but you're nothing but bullies. You're predators who made rules that only protect the strong, and you expect us to thank you for not finishing what you started." And oh, Mireille, Arbiter Kellos warned. "You are out of order." But Mireille wasn't listening anymore. 20 years of pain and rage poured out of her. You invaded Earth, you burned our cities, you killed our children. You murdered billions of innocent people, and your council did nothing. Nothing. You watched us die and called it an experiment, a test, as if our lives meant nothing. She stepped forward, pointing at Tavik. "You want us to submit? To accept Varaxian oversight? To let you control us because you're stronger and older and more advanced?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Only cold fury. "I have a better idea." The entire chamber held its breath. Mireille looked around at all the alien faces. At the species who had watched Earth burn. At the council that valued power over justice. She thought of every human who died. Every child. Every dream that turned to ash. Her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried through the entire chamber. Through the station. Through the communication networks that broadcast council proceedings across the galaxy. Billions of beings on thousands of worlds heard what she said next. "You invaded Earth. Now we will invade you." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The chamber exploded in chaos. Species shouting in dozens of languages. Council members demanding she be arrested. Tavik roaring threats through his translator. But Mireille just stood there, calm now. The rage had burned clean and left behind only cold purpose. "You wanted to see what humanity could do?" She continued, her voice cutting through the noise. "You wanted to test us? Congratulations. You taught us that the galaxy respects only strength. You taught us that justice is a joke and mercy is weakness. You taught us that might makes right." She turned to face Arbiter Kellos directly. "We don't need your council's permission to exist. We don't need your approval or your protection. We survived your test. Now you'll see what we learned from it." "This is an act of war," Kellos declared. "The Council will authorize collective action against Earth if you do not do what?" Mireille interrupted. "Apologize? Beg forgiveness. Submit to our would-be exterminators." She shook her head. "We're done asking permission. We're done seeking justice from beings who have none to give. From this moment forward, Earth answers to no one but ourselves." She activated her communicator. "Admiral Hayon, begin departure sequence. Prepare the fleet for combat operations. You cannot leave this station," a council member declared. "Your ships will be seized. You will be detained." Mireille smiled, and it was a terrible thing to see. "You're welcome to try." She turned and walked off the platform. Her delegation fell in behind her. Soldiers, diplomats, engineers, all of them moving with purpose. As they reached the chamber doors, Mireille stopped and looked back one final time. "We learned something else from your invasion," she said. "We learned that the only way to make you understand is through pain. The Varaxians will be the first to learn this lesson, but they won't be the last. Anyone who threatens Earth, anyone who attacks our people, Anyone who stands with our enemies, they will all understand what you taught us. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity doesn't forgive. We don't forget. And we never, ever stop fighting. The doors closed behind the human delegation. In the council chamber, chaos reigned. But Marae didn't care anymore. She had said what needed to be said. Now came the hard part, making good on her promise. The human fleet left Meridian Prime under the watch of thousands of alien warships. None of them moved to stop the departure. The council members argued among themselves about what to do. Some wanted immediate military action. Others urged caution. A few quietly admired the audacity of the human general's declaration. By the time they made a decision, Earth's ships were already entering hyperspace. Admiral Hand stood on the bridge of the flagship, studying star charts. Target coordinates confirmed, he reported to Marae. First Varaxian military outpost is 3 days away at maximum speed. What kind of defenses does it have? Captain Jiwan asked. Engineer Doyan pulled up tactical data. Orbital weapons platforms. Shield generators. Garrison of approximately 5,000 Vraxian soldiers. It's a supply depot and refueling station for their border patrol fleet. Good, Marae said coldly. We'll start there. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them to prepare for full mobilization. This won't be a short conflict. Ambassador Sunwoo looked worried. General. Several species are already calling for sanctions against Earth. The Torvari Council is organizing a coalition force. We might be facing more than just the Varaxians. Let them come, Marae replied. They chose their side when they did nothing to help us. Now they'll learn the cost of that choice. The fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Varaxian system. The military outpost hung in orbit above a barren moon. Its weapon systems immediately activated, tracking the human ships. A communication came through, demanding identification and threatening destruction. Heon didn't bother responding. All ships, weapons free. Target their shield generators first, then the weapons platforms. Leave nothing functional. The battle was quick and brutal. Human ships moved in patterns the Varaxians had never seen. They used speed and coordination instead of heavy armor. Earth's new weapons, built from reverse-engineered alien technology and improved by human innovation, tore through the outpost's shields in minutes. Giwan led a squadron of fighters through the defensive fire. Her pilots flew with reckless precision, weaving between enemy shots and delivering devastating strikes. This is for Earth, she transmitted as her missiles destroyed the last weapons platform. This is for all the ones we couldn't save. The outpost tried to surrender, but Marae gave no order to cease fire. The attack continued until every military installation was reduced to wreckage. Only then did she allow the Varaxian garrison to evacuate in life pods. Record this, she commanded. Broadcast it on all frequencies. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who attack humanity. Across Varaxian space, the message spread. Video of the outpost's destruction. Images of human warships overwhelming Varaxian defenses. And Marae's voice declaring that this was only the beginning. Panic rippled through the Empire. For the first time in centuries, the Varaxians felt fear. Commander Soman led special forces teams to the next target. They infiltrated a Varaxian colony world under cover of darkness. Unlike the outpost, this wasn't a military target. It was a civilian settlement with industrial facilities that supplied war materials. Remember the rules of engagement, Salman told her soldiers. No civilian casualties. We're not like them. We're better than what they did to us. But Lieutenant Hagen, a young officer on his first combat deployment, saw the Varaxian civilians and felt conflicted. Children, families, people who looked afraid. They reminded him too much of the stories about Earth's invasion. Are we sure about this? He asked Salman privately. These people didn't attack Earth. They're just living their lives. Their empire attacked us, Salman replied. Their government ordered the murder of billions. Supporting that empire makes them complicit. Does it, though? Hagen pressed. If someone judged all of humanity by our worst leaders, would that be fair? Salman's expression hardened. Fair stopped mattering when they killed my sister. Now follow your orders or get out of my way. The raid proceeded. Human forces destroyed weapons factories and supply depots while carefully avoiding residential areas. They moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing before Vroxian military could respond. The tactics were guerrilla warfare on an interstellar scale. They terrified the enemy. Back on Earth, public opinion was divided. Some celebrated the military victories. Others worried about what humanity was becoming. News broadcasts showed debates between those who supported General Murray's campaign and those who feared it would lead to humanity's destruction. We can't win. Against the entire galaxy, one politician argued on a news program, "We need to seek peace before it's too late." They had their chance for peace. A veteran responded angrily. They chose war. Now we're just finishing what they started. Scientist Yaram worked in secret facilities across Earth, developing new weapons based on captured alien technology. Her team created innovations that made human forces even deadlier. Energy shields that could absorb and redirect attacks. Missiles that could phase through solid matter. Weapons that targeted specific biological markers. "These designs are incredible," an engineer told her. "We could revolutionize warfare." "That's exactly what we're doing," Yaram replied. The aliens thought they were advanced. They thought we were primitives playing with fire. We're going to show them that humans learn fast and innovate faster. Over the next 3 months, human forces struck repeatedly across Vroxian territory. They hit 12 colony worlds, destroying military infrastructure while carefully minimizing civilian deaths. They captured supply ships and raided weapons depots. They ambushed patrol fleets and sabotaged communication networks. The Vroxian military tried to adapt, but humanity's tactics kept evolving. Every time the aliens thought they understood human strategy, Earth's forces did something new. It was warfare as art and science combined. Creative, unpredictable, devastating. Counselor Tavik watched his empire crumble with growing rage. He called emergency meetings with other council species, demanding they intervene against the human threat. Some agreed. The Torvari sent a battle fleet to reinforce Vroxian defenses. 2 other species provided military supplies and intelligence. But other species refused to help. Some feared humanity's new capabilities. Others quietly celebrated seeing the Vroxian Empire humbled. A few even began considering formal relations with Earth. Seeing opportunity in the shifting power balance, Admiral Hayan coordinated the campaign with brutal efficiency. He studied ancient human military history and applied lessons from Earth's wars to galactic conflict. Sun Tzu's strategies, Napoleon's logistics, Rommel's speed, all adapted for space warfare and alien enemies. "The Vroxians have massive military advantages," he explained to his officers. "More ships, better technology, established supply lines. But they're used to fighting conventional wars against predictable enemies. We'll be neither conventional nor predictable." Giwan led the assault on a major Vroxian military base, orbiting their 5th largest colony. Her fleet emerged from hyperspace inside the defensive perimeter, something the Vroxians thought impossible. The battle was chaos. Human ships swarmed the base like angry hornets, striking from every direction. To target their command center, Giwan ordered. Cut off their ability to coordinate, her pilots executed the plan perfectly. Within an hour, the base was crippled. Vroxian ships retreated in disorder. Human forces captured enough military hardware to equip 3 new battle groups, but not everyone celebrated. Lieutenant Hajan watched wounded Vroxian soldiers being pulled from destroyed ships and felt sick. He had killed people today. Lots of them. They were the enemy, yes, but they had also screamed and bled and died just like humans would. "Does it get easier?" he asked Commander Soman after the battle. "No," she answered honestly. "It gets harder. You just get better at carrying the weight." "I'm not sure I can carry it," Hajan admitted. "Every time I pull the trigger, I wonder if I'm becoming what we're fighting against." Salman put a hand on his shoulder. "The difference is that we question it. They didn't. They came to Earth and killed. without hesitation or remorse. We fight because we have to, not because we want to. That matters, does it? Heian asked quietly. Does intention matter to the dead? The question hung between them without answer. Meanwhile, Intelligence Officer Yuna discovered something crucial. The Varaxian government was fracturing. Internal dissent was growing as military defeats mounted. Some Varaxian factions wanted to negotiate. Others demanded total war, even if it meant their empire's destruction. We can use this, Yuna reported to Murray. If we push hard enough, the empire might collapse from within. Murray studied the intelligence reports. 3 months of warfare had achieved more than anyone expected. Rasayan military strength was degraded. Their economy was strained. Their people were losing faith in their government. And Earth's forces had proven themselves capable of fighting advanced alien civilizations. But the cost was growing. Human casualties mounted with each engagement. Earth's resources were being depleted. And the longer the war continued, the more likely other species would intervene. It's time for the final phase, Murray decided. We're going to strike at the Varaxian homeworld itself. Not to conquer it. To make them surrender. I know, Murray said. But we need to end this before the entire galaxy turns against us. One decisive blow. Make them understand that continued resistance is futile. The human fleet gathered at the edge of Varaxian space. Every available warship from Earth and its newly established colonies joined the formation. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Thousands of soldiers prepared for what everyone knew would be the decisive battle of the war. Admiral Heian reviewed the tactical plan one final time. The Varaxian homeworld had defenses that could destroy entire fleets. Orbital weapons platforms, shield networks, thousands of defensive ships. It was the most heavily fortified world in the Empire. Attacking it directly seemed like suicide. We have one advantage, Engineer Doyen explained during the final briefing. They don't expect us to actually do this. Their entire defensive strategy assumes enemies will try to weaken them first through prolonged campaigns. A direct assault goes against all military logic. That's why it might work, Captain Juan added. We've been unpredictable this entire war. They're expecting more guerrilla tactics. Instead, we're going to hit them with everything we have. General Murray stood before the assembled commanders. Her expression was calm, but everyone could see the weight she carried. 3 months of warfare, thousands of human casualties, an entire galaxy watching to see what humanity would do next. It all came down to this moment. This isn't about revenge anymore, she said quietly. It's about survival. If we stop now, the Varaxians will rebuild and attack again. Their species will see our hesitation as weakness. We have to finish this decisively. We have to make them understand that attacking humanity has consequences that last forever. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. The journey to the Varaxian homeworld took 6 hours. During that time, soldiers checked weapons, pilots ran final system checks, and commanders reviewed their orders. Some prayed to gods they weren't sure existed. Others wrote letters home that might never be delivered. Lieutenant Heian sat in his quarters, staring at his hands. He had killed so many people over the past 3 months, enemy soldiers. Maybe some civilians, despite the rules of engagement. The faces haunted him at night. He wondered if he would ever feel clean again. Commander Salman found him there. You're thinking too much, she said. Maybe I'm not thinking enough, Hadrian replied. Maybe none of us are. We're so focused on winning that we forget to ask what we're becoming. We're becoming survivors, Salman said firmly. We're becoming strong enough that no one will dare attack us again. And that's what matters, is it? Hajan looked at her. What if we win this war but lose ourselves in the process? What if we become just another aggressive empire like the Varaxians? Salman didn't have an answer. She left him alone with his doubts. The fleet emerged from hyperspace directly above the Varaxian homeworld. The defensive systems activated immediately. Thousands of weapons locked onto human ships. But Admiral Heian had anticipated this. His fleet formation was designed to exploit gaps in the defensive network that no one knew existed except Yuna, who had stolen the information from Council databases. All ships execute attack pattern Delta, Heian commanded. Focus fire on shield generators? We're not trying to destroy everything, just their ability to defend. The battle was massive and chaotic. Human ships moved with practiced coordination, their improved weapons tearing through Varaxian shields. The defenders fought back desperately. Several human vessels were destroyed in the opening minutes. Hundreds of soldiers died. But the assault continued. G1 led her fighters through impossible maneuvers. They dodged defensive fire and struck at critical targets. Her squadron destroyed 3 shield generators in the first hour. Other squadrons did the same. Slowly, the Varaxian defenses began to crumble. On the planet below, billions of Varaxians watched the battle in horror. For centuries, their homeworld had been untouchable, the heart of their empire, safe behind layers of defenses that no enemy could penetrate. Now human ships were systematically dismantling those defenses right above their heads. Counselor Tavik coordinated the defensive effort from the planetary command center. He screamed orders at his military officers, demanding they stop the human assault. But nothing worked. Every tactic they tried, the humans countered. Every defensive position they reinforced, the humans bypassed. How are they doing this? Tavik roared. How do these primitives keep outsmarting us? They're not primitive, one of his generals said quietly. That was always our mistake. We assumed backwardness meant stupidity. We were wrong. After 6 hours of brutal combat, the Varaxian orbital defenses were crippled. Human ships controlled the space above the homeworld. But Mireille gave no order to bombard the planet. Instead, she broadcast a message on all frequencies in every language spoken on the world below. People of the Varaxian Empire, her voice echoed across the planet. I am General Mireille of Earth. 3 months ago, your leaders claimed my people were a threat that needed to be eliminated. They said we were primitives who didn't deserve to exist. Today we stand above your homeworld with the power to reduce it to ash, but we won't. On the planet, billions listened. In the streets, in their homes, in government buildings. Everyone heard the human general's words. We won't become like you, Mireille continued. We won't murder your children. We won't destroy your cities. We won't make you feel the terror that you inflicted on us. It's not because we can't. We have the weapons and the will. We don't do it because we choose to be better than you taught us to be. Tavik tried to shut down the broadcast, but human technicians had seized control of every communication network on the planet. There was no stopping Mireille's message. But make no mistake, her voice grew harder. This is not mercy. This is a warning. Your empire attacked Earth without provocation. Your leaders ordered genocide. Your council allies watched and did nothing. You all bear responsibility for what happened. She paused, letting the words sink in. Here are my terms. Your military leadership will surrender to face trial for war crimes. Your empire will pay reparations to Earth for the next 100 years. Your government will publicly acknowledge its crimes and teach future generations what you did. And you will never, ever threaten humanity again. If you refuse these terms, Mireille's voice turned cold as space itself, we will not destroy your homeworld. We will do something worse. We'll dismantle your empire piece by piece. We will liberate every world you conquered. We will expose every crime you committed. We will reduce you from a galactic power to a cautionary tale. Your name will be remembered only as the species that taught humanity never to show weakness. The broadcast ended. Silence fell across the Varaxian homeworld. In the command center, Tavik stared at the screen showing human warships in orbit. His empire was beaten. Its military was crippled. His people were terrified. He had 2 choices: surrender or watch everything he knew burn. He chose survival. Within hours, the Varaxian government collapsed. Military leaders arrested Tavik and his closest allies. They broadcast messages to Mireille, accepting the terms. The war was over, but the galaxy's reaction was just beginning. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species debated what to do about the human problem. Some argued for immediate military intervention, others urged caution. A few even suggested welcoming Earth as a major power. Arbiter Kellos finally called for order. The humans have demonstrated capabilities we did not anticipate. They have defeated a major empire in 3 months. We must reassess our approach to this species. They're dangerous, a council member argued. They showed aggression and disregard for galactic norms. We should contain them before they become a greater threat. Ambassador Sun Wu stepped forward. He had remained on the council station during the entire war, working diplomatic channels. Contain us? You mean like you contained the Varaxian invasion of our world? Like you protected us from genocide? Oh wait, you didn't. You watched. Some of you helped. The chamber fell silent. Sun Wu produced Yuna's evidence again. Council members who had aided the Varaxians. Species that had profited from humanity's suffering. All of it laid bare for everyone to see. Earth didn't start this war, Sun Wu said firmly. But we will finish it. Not just with the Varaxians. We're going to change this entire corrupt system. The Galactic Council claims to represent justice and order. But you're just bullies with fancy titles. That ends now. You cannot dictate terms to the Council, Kellos declared. We represent civilizations older than your entire species. Over the next weeks, the Galactic Order shifted dramatically. Earth's military victory over the Varaxians shocked every species. More importantly, it inspired others. Smaller civilizations that had been bullied by major empires began to resist. They looked to humanity as proof that the strong could be defeated. Marae returned to Earth as a hero to some and a monster to others. She walked through cheering crowds and protesting groups. Some held signs calling her humanity's savior. Others accused her of making Earth into the very thing they had fought against. She met with Earth's leadership to discuss the future. We won the war, the president said. But what now? We've made enemies across the galaxy. Other species fear us. Some hate us. How do we build a future from that? We build it by never being weak again, Marae replied. We establish a defense network that spans multiple systems. We form alliances with species that share our values.